Hello and welcome to English is Beautiful. I'm Kirsty and this is Monkey. And in this video we're going to talk about the APTIS exam. Maybe you're considering this exam to get your B1 or B2 qualification. It is now quite popular, particularly in Spain and also in other parts of the world. In this video, we'll look at the contents, some tricks. Similarly to other English exams, there are the typical reading, listening, speaking, and writing. And there are also grammar and vocabulary sections. Here you can see the time for each section and how many questions. Each question is worth 1 point. In the writing, as with the other sections, the first part is the easiest. They expect only 1 or 2 words, and the recommended time is 3 minutes. It's important to control your time here because although you have 50 minutes, the later parts of the exam are more complicated. These first questions are introductory, simple questions about personal information, etc. For example, what do you do? What's your job? What did you do yesterday in the past? What's your favourite colour? What's the weather like today? How do you get to work? How do you travel to work? You're expected to write similar answers to these. For example, I'm a teacher. I'm a firefighter. I'm a pilot. I'm an engineer. What did you do yesterday? If possible, use the past tense, past simple. So with regular verbs ending in ed. What's your favourite colour? Just 1 word is enough. It's snowing. It's sunny. It's raining. And how do you get to work? By tram, by train, by bike, by foot, by car. Yeah. The second part of the writing, the recommended time is 7 minutes. You get some information. For example, you are a new member of the travel club. You just have to write 20 to 30 words. This is really, really short. In this case, it's please write some reasons why you are interested in travel. This is an example answer. So when I was a child, I used to love travelling up and down the countryside with my family. Back then, we used to drive because we would take so much stuff with us for camping and other activities. As you can see, this candidate has demonstrated a higher level in very few words. Use as much variety as you can in tenses and in vocabulary, and use these linking words like back then, after that, when I was a child. They've used interesting structures like used to, we would take. Do your best to make it interesting, even if it's short. The third part of the writing, you have some short messages from different people. You have to reply to the messages with about 30 to 40 words in around 10 minutes. Again, this is recommended timing. Your style should be chatty, should be relaxed, informal. Be careful to answer their questions completely. For example, "Hi, welcome to the club. Can you remember the first time you went on a journey yourself? What was it like?" Your reply, "Hi, yes I can. I was about 7 and I travelled across the country to stay with my aunt and cousins in the countryside. I was terrified at first, but then started to enjoy the freedom." Some nice verb structures there. Then Miguel says, "Welcome. What are the most interesting places to visit in your country?" Your response, "I think the cities have a lot to offer a tourist. If you don't speak French, then visiting the countryside can be difficult." Finally, Michelle says, "What is the most exciting journey you've been on?" You reply, "I think definitely the time I visited Everest. I didn't go all the way to the top, but still the nature and to be so high up was incredible." Notice some lovely adjectives, descriptive language, there's variety. Try to make it interesting, yeah? Then, part 4, I think this is actually 2 different sections. So I would say 10 minutes on one and 10 minutes on the other. They're testing your ability to use formal and informal writing styles. So the first one is usually informal. In this case, write an email to your friend. Write about your feelings and what you are planning to do. The key word is friend. That makes you realize that it's informal. The second task is more formal because you have to write an email to the secretary of the club. It's the same or similar ideas, but one is informal and the other formal. They give you a description of the situation. You need to use different words to reply adequately. Answer these questions carefully. So your feelings, your emotions, and what you're planning to do. Here are some suggestions. So for the informal email to your friend, you say, "I'm so angry that this guy," that's so informal, "has cancelled at the last moment. I was really looking forward," this is a nice expression to use, "to hearing what he had to say. Forget it." Again, that's informal. "I don't think I'll bother with the book after all. I feel let down." It's like disappointed. "And it made me laugh. They still want £25 for the book. Ha!" So this is informal. It uses these phrasal verbs and it's very relaxed and chatty. The formal email starts with "dear" instead of "hi", and you've got some formal expressions like your email dated 16th of March. "I would like to let you know that I do hope Mr. Price is well." This "do" is for emphasis here. "And that the reason for his absence isn't too serious." "Although" is a nice word. "To be honest," I'm a little disappointed. I can purchase, that's like buy, but more formal. And to finish, you say regards. That's really nice and formal as well. Finally, the speaking. It's important to note that the Aptis exam is all on a computer. So in the speaking exam, you're speaking to a computer. You hear a recording reading you the questions, and you can see the questions on the screen as well. As with the other sections, the first section is the easiest. So the first 3 questions, you have about 30 seconds. You have to wait for the sound beep and then you start speaking. So for example, please tell me about your family. Obviously in 30 seconds it's quite short, but you can also include quite a lot of information. Then secondly, what do you like to do on weekends? And thirdly, tell me about your hometown or city. These are quite common questions. You might get things like, what do you do in your free time? Or tell me about your work, but they're all quite similar. These are some examples of answers. So you can see there are about 3 sentences, 2 or 3 sentences. I have a very big family. I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters. We all get along really well, which is good. We have a good relationship. We get along. What do you like to do on the weekends? Generally, I just like to relax. I sometimes meet up with friends and we go out, or sometimes I watch a movie. You've got some nice adverbs here of frequency. Sometimes, generally. Then finally, in the third question, I live in the countryside. Excuse me. I live in the countryside. The nearest village is about 5 miles away. It's nice and quiet. Some nice adjectives. In the second part, they give you a photograph. You have to describe what's happening in the picture and then answer 2 questions about it. You have about 45 seconds for each response, each answer. Again, wait for the beep. So you have a little girl in a picture. Here you can describe and speculate. She might, she may. You can see my video to learn some good ways to describe a photograph. Here's an example of an appropriate length answer to this section. So there is a young girl looking at some things inside a glass box. Maybe she is in a museum. There is an adult with her and she is looking in the box too. It's a very short description. Then you answer the 2 questions with quite short answers too. So tell me about a time you visited a museum. I haven't been to a museum since I was about 10. To be honest, I can't really remember it. To be honest is a really nice expression. I was with my school and I just remember the journey back home. Then, do you think people should pay to visit museums or should they be free? I don't think anything is free. It must be paid for somehow. In my country, guests pay and local people can go in free. Okay? The picture content and the questions can vary, but they're usually quite common topics like sports, free time, etc. In this exam, the third part is sports. So this time you have 2 questions again and about 45 seconds for each response. Okay, you have to try to compare the photos or compare what you see in the photos and answer the questions. So it's important to direct your answer to the questions straight away, immediately. Don't start describing the photos. You don't have time. So you could start, well, here's an example. I think very different people play these sports. I think golf is for people who have a lot of money and time to spare, and basketball, although possibly played by everybody, is usually played by busy people who like to play team sports. Then for the other question, which of these 2 sports is more difficult to play and why? I think they are so different, a comparison is not really applicable. One is very athletic and a team sport, while the other is solitary and requires long periods of thought and concentration. They are, of course, both sports, but they are vastly different. So, if you are fit, then I guess basketball would be easier than golf. It seems to me that you can rely on your teammates a bit, and they can encourage you if you are not playing well. Notice that this candidate has really included some impressive language. Don't worry if you can't use such complicated or uncommon language at this point. You will improve and do your best in the exam. The final part of the speaking is more open. So you have 1 minute, 60 seconds to think and prepare your answer. In this part, the picture is really just a distraction. Maybe it can help give you some ideas, but please don't be too distracted. Focus on the questions. So tell me a time when you were on your own. How did you feel about it? What are some of the ways of passing time on your own? You have about 2 minutes to talk, okay? So 1 minute to think, 2 minutes to talk. Here's an example. Notice that it isn't related to the photo. So last time I was on my own was when I was traveling around the country. I wanted to spend some time up in the hills and forests, just being with nature. I love the sounds, smells, and the feeling you get, and being with other people makes it very difficult to relax and just be with nature. I felt so very relaxed, it was hard when I came back into the town. I like to be with friends, but I do find it really important to spend time alone and to have only yourself and the birds and the bees around. I have talked about 1, relaxing, but another thing that I really enjoy is reading. I love just sitting with a good book and the feeling of being engrossed in a story without a care in the world and any distractions. Another way is when I go for drives. I suppose it's like exploring or finding my town all for myself, I often put some music on and have a sing-along too. I never usually sing in front of people. I guess I must be shy. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and comment. Press the notification button so that you know when I upload new videos. There are lots more useful materials on English is Beautiful, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Please let me know if you want any extra help. Bye bye.